What up, YouTube universe? It's the dark skin, dancing American coming once again. Um, one love to the YouTube universe. Anybody who watches me and supports me, shout out to you. But I want to talk about something I missed yesterday. I was tired. I fell asleep earlier, but it's about this.
Another pardoned January 6th rioter was shot and killed in a confrontation with Indiana police. A January 6th rioter who was pardoned by Trump faced child sex charges. Ex-Proud Boy Enrique Tarrio arrested on assault charges outside of the Capitol after he was pardoned. Another rioter charged with burglary in Virginia. Another rioter arrested near Obama's house and convicted on gun charges. I mean, part of the issue here is that Trump pardoned a bunch of people who were convicted in many cases for violent crimes.
And the issue is, look, first, two things.
And I want to talk about what they were talking about. I wanted to get their commentary on it because what we were talking about is Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader. He has been, basically marked. And I wanted to talk about the forms of white supremacy and the factions that bring. Okay, so this person who charged for trying to kill Hakeem Jeffries, I wanted to get the reaction through them. That's why I'm making this video. But I'm gonna let these people talk.
Without really looking into the individuals, the same risk applies to Joe Biden, who pardoned thousands of drug criminals without looking into the individual files.
I want to stop him right there when he said that Joe. See, when people deflect things, right? See, the big thing about deflection, they'll bring somebody else up instead of getting the situation that has already happened, right? That ain't got nothing to do with the Democratic leader and how they want to assassinate somebody, right? Here you go.
Of his administration, I don't know how many of them have ended. I'm sure if they haven't, some probably will because of the volume of them, and he'll be responsible
for that. Can I ask you a question about that? Are you suggesting that because Joe Biden did not personally look into each file, or because it did not go through a process? Because I'm not sure it didn't go through a process.
But I'm saying the president.
I'm glad she said that because I'm not sure what he was really talking about by bringing up Joe Biden. They're not talking about Biden. We're talking about the January 6th domestic terrorists. Now they want to off the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries.
It's well reported that the president himself did not go through each individual case.
Sure,
and I'm just saying.
But you understand. Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but you understand also that there is actually a DOJ process generally most other pardons go through, and even that process was circumvented for these January 6th rioters, and I don't think that they were.
Well, I think in the case of the drug cases, it was.
And you heard what she said. She don't think they were, which is most likely true. The problem is this guy's gonna run around. He's not giving out a legitimate answer, and if you look at his face, you can tell he's funking up.
Looking for a class of people who they thought had been simply overcharged because of the drug issue. My point is simply this: whenever you do a large group of people and you're the president, the buck stops with you. You're ultimately responsible for what happens. I do agree; it's hard to do one thing to the other. You don't know what people are going to do. I personally have no tolerance whatsoever for people who are granted mercy in our unique way we do it, and then out and abuse that mercy. I have no tolerance for political violence. I have no tolerance for people threatening to kill anyone from Hakeem Jeffries to Brett Kavanaugh, other kinds of things we've seen. I have no tolerance for it, and I think they ought to look at it. And I don't think any more mercy ought to be forthcoming people who have abused it in the past.
Well, I'd agree with that, but that means, in fact, that there's no moral or legal justification of blanket pardoning of insurrections January 6th. There's not in any way a persuasive argument one can make. And that's true for any president, be it Biden or be it Trump. And as you know, I'm not a fan of either one of those. I think they're tied to war crimes in Gaza, but that's just a written footnote. But important.
Now, I want to stop right there. He made more sense than anybody. I'm gonna let the man finish. And go.
Thing is more than just a risk, though, brother. It is no moral and legal justification. Drop the mic.
Well, the lack of remorse is one big part of it. I mean, these people were not remorseful in any way, and that's a big part of the problem.
And what she's talking about, the problem is when these people see they're being nice on television. They're being very nice on television. I'm gonna go out and say it. And if I was there, I would have said it right then and there. We're dealing with the explosion of white supremacy in real time. You heard it first. I can believe. So you've seen so much crime. Do people really think it's a coincidence that someone that was pardoned to become a domestic terrorist under the umbrella of the false ideology of white supremacy would be trying to kill the Democratic leader who most likely might be a future president when the Orange Man is done with his term? Do you really think it's a coincidence? Mm. And see, people won't tell the truth, but I'll tell it. White supremacy is being exposed on all fronts, no matter what action it may be. They didn't say it on television, but I did. They're only talking about the pardons. Talking about the pardons. That's give us something new. And again, the only one who hits heavy was the brother. The sister, a little bit. She, the one who's the host, she do a little. But me, if I would have came with the knockout blow, not just hitting heavy. The fight is over with. White supremacy should be destroyed. But I will let the lady talk, and I remember when she said something. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it, and I'm gonna get the feedback on how she talked about this. And I want y'all to understand this is the radical way of thinking. If you're domestic terrorist, that means you'll turn on anybody.
We don't really know if that happened because it happened so fast under this administration. It was a campaign promise. It was actually like, I don't care if they serve time and they did some rehabilitation. I'm going to do it so that my folks know I stand with these folks. And the final question I just have to ask is,
She must like
Scott,
white.
you and I are aligned. There is no place for
because how can you explain
anywhere, but why is it so heightened right now? And what is the antidote to bring it down? Because just putting side against the other, we're just going to always just try to keep outdoing each other, and then violence will keep happening. So I want to go a layer deeper and try and figure out, like, why is this violence surfacing in such a way right now, and how do we get it to stop?
All right. So that was that. She said, how? Well, my sister, they got on television and expressed how she felt about the domestic terrorists. The problem is most of those domestic terrorists, 6 that was part, is under the umbrella of a false ideology called white supremacy. So that's how you get rid of it, to get rid of the ideology and the format that it brings within the community of whites being taught at a young age. That's the only way that's going to happen. If not, you're going to see them imploding and exploding every goddamn year, shooting up everything as they do, killing and murderous, sickening things that you wouldn't have imagined, shooting at churches and where kids is at, praying. It's going to be like back to the Wild West again. Just shooting up everything. That's the answer. I like listening to them. but they won't say it. But if I was there, I would have said it. I would have said white should be destroyed because that false ideology is why they self-imploding and exploding. This is the reason why you see all of the crime. Them. And they're notorious for killing. Notorious. You understand? They thievery and dishonor that they have is beyond anyone else in the history of my beautiful name. Sorry. Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know if I'm on to something. Because I'm looking at it. The person that threatened this man, who's a Democratic leader again, was pardoned out of the January 6 rioters who became a domestic terrorist. That already tells you the mindset of that false ideology that is white supremacy. But they wouldn't say it. I would have said it. I would have came up and said that. Wouldn't have changed it. Anybody tried to argue the fact that I'm right only makes me right. If you try to argue it, because it's the truth. That's why they were able to get out, because they're under the umbrella. So that's why you see crazy stuff that you probably never heard or even seen before. Just radicalized, threatening. You feel me? That's real. No matter how people want to slice it. And what they do is they try to stay on code and sweep it under the rug. Though, see, if I was that news channel and CNN, I would have kept it real. Like, yeah. You didn't think I was gonna say it? People gotta wise up about this and stay more. See it. I like it. Why do I like it? Not because of the crime, not because I want somebody to die. No, because it exposes white supremacy and the false ideology. Exposes it. Because through the ranks, they think on code all the time, though. And even when they go crazy and self-destruct and explode, it always goes right back to that understanding they all had. And that's why so much tyranny and crime that you see. Because when you have dishonor and you come from a culture that worships shit like that, it only gets worse. I'll be back, YouTube universe. Hold on. back, YouTube verse. Sorry for the wait. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So this exposes white supremacy, false ideology, in this code that they all come from an umbrella. And they didn't want to say it on the CNN, but that's really what it is. So what they're doing now is they're not gonna speak on it because I don't know, they boss whatever. But we gonna speak on it, fam. You understand? We gonna speak on it and study it because this is great information of what they do when they wrap themselves up and get exposed. So and what you see right now is when you look at the whole CNN thing, there's some guy talking about he won one strict rule for everybody. And another dude making sense of how litigation works, where things have to be proven, has to be a system, things have to be proven that, hey, this person was intending to do this and this and that. Right? Instead of just railroading people, because that's exactly what he was saying. He caught you should just get the death penalty. He's like, I don't have no sympathy. And he was going down this slippery slope. And the brother, the older guy, was like, no, we still need a litigation situation. We need to figure out what's true and what's not. Forensics, detail, and people who really do their work in the courtroom instead of road people. Right? And this goes to what I was talking about when the white dude was like, well, I'll just get rid of all. Like, man, like, no, we still need litigation in the form of the system to figure out what did the person do, if they did anything, what was the cause of it, was there any connections. If you truly want to stop something, you have to break it down. And this is white supremacy 101 being exposed on television. They didn't want to say it, but that's what it is. Then I'm gonna get back to what the sister said, which was very important. The sister said, how can it be stopped? White supremacy, false ideology must be destroyed. It has to go. Because of what a person who has, I would say, honor when you worship that. It's not of God. This God doesn't tell you to subject black folks, go against them in all fashions, wage economic war on them, and not give them reparations for a country they built. That this is this nation. I mean, the Bible don't tell you that. The Bible didn't tell people to do things that is very chaotic, like this guy who wanted to kill the leader, Democratic Hakeem Jeffries. And that in alone is truth. It's not, I didn't make it up. The news is talking. Everybody's talking about it. I was late on. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was late. I was tired. I came back home. I like to get work out on. But anyway, so that happened, and when it happened, how it happened, is because of the white supremacist faction. That's how it happened. You could want to believe it. You could make it seem, make it hocus pocus jokes or whatever. That's cool though. But this happens all the time. But this happens is a breakdown and exposure we all learn from. We can all learn from this exposure that's on television right now, white supremacy, and how that is a false ideology. Like people getting caught up. He talking about throw the book at him. If you listen to the whole interview, he like, I'll throw the book at him. I'll do this. I'll do that. We're like, well, hold on. We're gonna have some decorum in here, dude. Just calm down. Calm down. So, I mean, and it's not gonna stop. It's not gonna stop. Not at all. It's gonna pick up. It's gonna get more egregious. It's gonna get more scandalous. It's gonna tip people off. It's gonna have a whole lot of things going because it's out of control and it spirals on trying to impose will on others. So that alone is a self-destruction. But I'm just saying that alone is a self-destruction. Targeting this man. The more I make these videos, the more we see more and more even agreed things. How in all news, every time we turn it on, well, I know how, but you just wouldn't imagine. You wouldn't imagine that it's so much exposure to the umbrella and this false ideology of white supremacy. You would now, when I say it's true, it's people won't look back and be like, people are really listening, like, damn. I say, yeah, you got to study that. It's an exposure to them. You got to look at it. Be very meticulous on what you see and what you see of proof, because this is what it is. And we'll get back to these domestic terrorists, because that's what they were before they got pardoned. Well, it still is. People don't forget about it. You know. But even the brother said you gotta have some decorum. You can't just go full throttle. You gotta hold on. Let's work on this. Let's not just be too to judge. You know. And sad part is that no one said anything about it. That was the sad part. Because I would have said it. I would have said this is exposure to the false ideology of this umbrella of white supremacy. I would have said that shit on CNN. I would have went viral. But it would have been good because again, it is really in real time. Like I said, I'm gonna give it to you raw. Just stay on the grind. Give it to you real time. So I want y'all to know that this is white supremacy 101. Now that the domestic terrorist was pardoned, threatened this Democratic leader, okay, of death. So that's just a tidbit of what goes on and what we gonna see when it come down to the thievery. It's just being detected everywhere you look on the news. White supremacy is being detected, no matter what fashion it is. It's being detected. People need to study it. We need to look and figure this to not interrupt what our real duties are. And like I said, for Foundation of Black Americans, it's most definitely us building the nation. And if you got reparations, that's the only damn thing I really care about, to tell you the truth. Us getting that check on some respect. The bull mess ain't what we need, and it shouldn't be next. If we deserve a debt that the country owes us, we build it from scratch. I'm just telling you though, just being one black. So, long story short, that's just what it is. That's what it is when it comes down to what you see on the news. It's just being exposed. Slowly but surely. So, just wanted y'all to know what's really going on and how things are perceived to be and what we're going to see. You know, I'm not shocked. I'm not like it's 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 like I'm shocked that that's happening where they get exposed. And oh, I mean, well, they're gonna be very hateful because that's who they are. You know what I'm saying? And with all that hate, you can't underestimate. That's how I look at it. With all that hate, you can't really underestimate. So, with that being said, yeah, this is the umbrella of the false ideology of white supremacy. Just straight up raw, and I'm gonna tell it to you all. They just flat out threatened the dude, just didn't care. Already labeled as a terrorist, a domestic one, that is. Just went the whole full throttle with it. They didn't want to say it on the news, though. They didn't want to cute talk about it and kind of be cute about the whole thing. They didn't want to get the whole spiel about it, like get the whole keep it real on the topic. They don't want to do that. They You know, because the bosses was probably like, "We're not saying." That's probably why, but it's white supremacy, most definitely. The umbrella of the false ideology that is being exposed gradually. That's what's going. That's what's happening. You know what I'm saying? We got to keep on YouTube universe. Make sure you press the like, subscribe. As I told to you first. You just got to keep on living, and as you keep living, you start seeing things. And like I said, it's always a lesson. It's a real, a special lesson right here that have known domestic terrorists making threats at a leader that happened to be a Democrat. So there it is. I'm just saying, in order to reach, you must learn first. That's how you teach. So if you learn from what's going on, see the ideology of the false ideology of white supremacy, this false code they create is self-explode. So as you can see, there's no endless to the madness. You feel me? So the guy decides to, sorry, it's crazy. They want to talk about it on the news, though. They kept a hush. Don't say nothing. You not. You know the boss is listening. They don't want to say anything about it. You realize that? I know this. I'm crazy, but it's okay. But if I was there, it's just not none of them no more. I would have said it's the umbrella of this false ideology that's called white supremacy. It's because think about it. They're known terrorists, which means they'll do it once, they'll do it again. So that's the thing right there. That's what people must look at and see, and how this is a repeated thing. Go against the country, they'd kill anybody. How you look at it, you know? So, yeah, that's how you gotta look at it. And with that being said, there's so much to unpack if you really look at that. Like I said, it's being exposed. People gotta know it's being white supremacy at the highest levels being exposed. Though they're getting exposed for this false ideology that they was taught, whether it was young, age, old, it don't matter. And for the lady who was like, "How can you stop it?" Well, baby, that white supremacy umbrella is false ideology. What it does self implode and press the button for destroy and then explode. I mean, hey, as you can see, threatening the Democratic leader though. Ooh, it's just a matter of time for them to cross that line. Yeah, it's a matter of time. Sad. As you can see, things happening in real time. These people are crazy as hell, and they will turn on the country for the drop of a dime. Some terrorists, good crime. I mean, you gotta look at how this shit happening. And like I said, in real time. In a nanosecond, switch on your shit. We're crazy. Like, damn, what the hell? Yeah. Anybody who is terrorizing my nation should get no love. Because you portray us. So, you know, that's how I look at it. But again, you know, how you not gonna love when you can't? I don't know how you go against it. I would never go against my country. I don't think nobody should. But you do got people like that. You know, my whole thing is it exposes what they're on. And the ideology is false and white supremacy. It's out front and center, all over the news, all over just there. You know, and as you can see, that you know, this is like the talk right now. Like, you know, I made videos talking about how crazy it gets, and it's gonna get crazier, and it seems like I'm just right. Every other video you make, it just gets crazier. Because you know, you see these people who implode amongst others, these personalities, these lost individuals. Again, white supremacy is being exposed, and just letting y'all know. Look at what's going on, seeing what it is. Yeah. You wish the best on. I would tell anybody focus on your own people. Shit, that's what I do. Don't worry about them. I have to check my own. I'm gonna get popping that mess. I'm gonna get hella check. Hide your ass. With all that. Shit. So, but Y'all make sure y'all press like and subscribe. And again, I'm gonna try to provide. But yeah, it's big. It's a big. It's an exposure to them, honestly, because they don't care. That's why they do that shit. That's why they do the evil that they do. Okay. We gotta give a damn though. You gotta stay on. You know, but I'm gonna go ahead and let it go. What y'all gotta do YouTube universe. Lock back in.